Hey guys, so in this video we're going to look at lesson 13.6, which is compare fractions, use the number line. So this is just another strategy that you can use when comparing fractions, and you can pick between this strategy and the other strategies that we've learned so far in topic 13 when comparing fractions. So our I can statement is I can compare two fractions by locating them on the number line. So finding out their position, finding out their spot on the number line. So our solve and share says Tanya, Ryaz, and Ryan each used a bag of flour to make modeling clay. The bags were labeled 3/4 of a pound, 1/4 of a pound, and 2/4 of a pound. Show these fractions on a number line. How can you use these numbers? How can you use the number line to compare two of these fractions? So I'll comment with my color, make it brighter for this one, brighter-ish. And here it says you can use reasoning to compare fractions. Think about the size of the fractions. So our fractions that we're looking at are 3/4, 1/4, and 2/4. So what's the first thing that you notice? And it's also the first thing I notice, is that they all have the same denominator, which is 4. So that tells me I can just put them right in order from smallest to largest by looking at the numerator. So I know 1 is the smallest number. So 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. So I labeled them on my number line. I filled them in the correct spots. And now I just need to make a comparison statement. So one possible answer that you could have is that maybe 1/4 is less than 3/4. You could also have 1/4 is less than 2/4. You can have that 2/4 is less than 3/4. So these are 4 possible options that you could have put. Also, you can have flipped it if you would have said that 3/4 is then greater than 1/4 if you had the positions and symbols switched. Same thing for this fraction. You could have switched the positions of the fractions and the symbols, and the same as for the last one. So these are just some of your possible answers. Hopefully you picked one of these to write your compare statement, because it says how can you use the numbers to compare two of these fractions, and I just wrote the comparison statements here. The bottom says the bags were labeled 4/8 of a pound, 3/8 of a pound, and 6/8 of a pound. How could a number line help you solve this problem? So I'm just going to go in with a different color, and right underneath where they would go, or actually I'd have to draw an entire number line. So sorry, I'm not going to use this same one. We're labeled 4/8, 3/8, 6/8. So the ones that we're comparing here are 4/8, 3/8, and 6/8. So I could make a number line from 0 to 1, and then I would divide it into 8 spots. So I would, just like this number line is divided into the 4 equal spots, I would divide a number line into 8 equal spots. Then I would label where the 4/8, 3/8, and 6/8 came in, where they were supposed to be on that number line, like underneath these little dash marks that I would draw on my number line. And then I would make a comparison statement based off of their positions. So again, they all have the same denominator, so I know that 3/8 is the smallest and 6/8 is the largest. So on a number line, I'd be able to see that as well. So I could just make the statement that 3/8 is less than 6/8. And this is just one example of a comparison statement that I could make. Okay, please pause it if you need to. The blue is to this bottom part down here, and all of the orange is to this top up here. Okay, going to the next page. Our essential question is, how can you Yeah, how can you compare fractions using a number line? So again, talking about using a number line, that's what this entire lesson is on, to compare which fractions are greater than, less than, possibly even equal to if we had two number lines. So our problem here says Talia has two different lengths of blue and red ribbon. Does she have more blue ribbon or more red ribbon? So for blue, she says she has 2/3 of a yard, and red she has one third of a yard. So for part B, or sorry, this is B trouble, skips on accident. Look at the numerators and the denominators of each fraction. So they have the same denominator, same bottom number. They're both thirds. They both have 3 as their denominator. And then we have a 2 for our blue as the numerator and a 1 for our red as the denominator. Here it down says the fractions both refer to 1 yard of ribbon. This is the whole. So this is 2/3 of the whole, 1/3 of the whole. You can use a number line to compare 1/3 and 2/3. The farther to the right the fraction is in the number line, the greater the fraction. So even if we weren't talking about fractions, you know that if the number is like farther over to the right, it's going to be the greater number. And that just, in that fact stays true when we're talking about fractions. Here it says on the number line, 2/3 is farther to the right than 1/3. So 2/3 is greater than 1/3. So Talia has more blue ribbon than red ribbon. They give you the comparison statement. They have the number line out there for you, and they tell you before they even started what two fractions you're going to be comparing. So they're giving you all of the information over and over again just to make sure that you don't miss it and you realize what information you are using. So the convincing section down here says Talia has an additional length of green ribbon that measures 3/6 of a yard. How can you use the number line to compare the length of green ribbon to the lengths of blue and red ribbon? So I'm just going to read a verbal answer for this, and I'll also just be going over this in like a Zoom. So if it doesn't make full sense for this, I can go back to it. So when I use the number lines, marked for thirds, so like a number line right here, this one that they give you, to show 6. So if I were to draw a number underneath it and label it for sixths into 6 different pieces, I know that 1/3, so this one right here, is actually equal to 2/6. So 1/3 is equal to 2/6. And the 2/3, which is right here, is equal to 4/6. The 3/6 yard of green ribbon is greater than 1/3 yard of ribbon, but less than 2/3 of a yard of blue ribbon, because the fractions that are equal to each other are the equivalent fractions. So it's like 1/3, really big, and 2/6 are the same. And then what's the other one I said? 2/3 and 4/6. 2/3 and 4/6 are the same. So if I'm comparing 3/6 to these two numbers, I know 3/6 comes between this. So 3/6 is greater than 1/3, because this 3/6 comes like would be like right here, and this is equal to each other. Sorry, these two fractions are equal to each other. So since the 3/6 comes in right here, it just means that it would fall between 2/6 and 4/6, and that 1/3 is less than it. I hope that made sense. Okay, I'm going to erase and go to our final page. So for this, number 1, for the do you understand, it says when two fractions refer to the same whole, what do you notice when the denominators you are comparing the same? So like if you're comparing like 2/5 and 4/5. Okay, so they have the same denominator. What do I notice? Like, what do I have to do first to compare them? So I know so they both have the same bottom. So to figure out which one's greater than or which one's less than, I have to look at the top numbers. I have to look at the numerator. So I know that 4/5 is larger. So I compare their numerators to see which fraction is larger. And number two, this is again just one example of a comparison statement. Yours example could be different. So if it's the different numerators, I'm going to stick with the same denominator. I'll make my denominator 7, and I'll use a 3 and a 5. And I know that 3/7 is less than 5/7. And again, it could have been there's a bunch of different answers for number two, like a bunch of different possibilities. In 3 through 5, we have to write the correct symbol. They give us the number lines. So for 2/4 and 2/3, so 2/4 is here. I draw this line down because I see that 2/3 comes after it. So I know that 2/3 is greater than. For 2/6 and 1/3, I draw my line down and they're equal to each other. I draw my equal sign. And then 5/8 and 3/8. My 3/8 is here. My 5/8 is here. The 5/8 is closer to 1, so 5/8 is greater than 3/8. For number 6 through 9, actually, for this whole bottom part, it just says to use the symbols again. So what we did for number 3, so 1/4 and 3/4. 1/4 is here. 3/4 is here. So I know 3/4 is closer to 1, so 3/4 is larger. And then 4/6 and 3/6. I know that 4/6 is closer to 1 as well, so 4/6 is greater than 3/6. Half and 2/4, they line up perfectly, so they're equal to each other. And then 1/3, I'm going to bring my line down, and 1/8. 1/8 is closer to 0, so I know that 1/3 is greater. That is all for this video. As we've been doing lately, we'll go over like the next page and like homework and practice pages and stuff in a Zoom. So if you have questions about any of the 13.6 after you finish this video, just know that there will be time for you to ask it. And if your question does not get answered, please just let me know that you still have a question, even if it's like after the Zoom. Just have someone let me know that you still aren't sure about something or it's still confusing to you, just so I can try and explain it maybe in a different way that would better suit you. So let me know that you watched it, and I will see you all on Zoom. Okay, bye guys.